They give me a beer and a beer. And he said, okay, the party's going. And I remember Eddie Johnson coming over and he said, okay, kid, let's go.
Once a month for the rest of for about 3 or 4 years, once a month in practice, Taz would cold cock me.
Geez, and it came like the Keystone Cops. They all came out, and I went at the bottom. I'm looking at the ice, I'm down on the ice, and all these bodies on top of me. They're throwing punches, but they're hitting each other. So I snuck out the bottom of the pile.
I, being the captain, was in charge of the Stanley Cup. So I was told, okay, you got to get it back to the garden. How the heck am I going to do that? And I saw a police officer there, and I says, I need your help. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I got to get this cup back to the garden. Can you help me? He said, well, you know what? He said, I got my motorcycle. It's got a sidecar, and it's parked at the back. So sure enough, we went down the stairs into the back. I got in the motorcycle. It wouldn't start. So then all of a sudden the kids saw us and they come charging. And the police officer says, hey guys, give us a push. So now we're going down the street being pushed by a bunch of kids with a Stanley Cup. That's how I got it back to the garden.
In the game before in Boston, we beat them 5-2. And I grabbed Billy Fairburn a minute left in the game. And a few slaps. And I said, that's for nothing. See what you get for something. And we went into New York, and I'm telling you, they were ready. Geez, and it came like the Keystone Cops. They all came out, and I went at the bottom. I'm looking at the ice, I'm down on the ice, and all these bodies on top of me. They're throwing punches, but they're hitting each other. So I snuck out the bottom of the pile. They couldn't get untangled. I was kind of off to the side. And then I jumped in the pile. It's insane.
One of the things I'll remember my dying day is when they took me out of the hospital in 1973. And whenever I think about it, I get this warm, fuzzy feeling. But I'll never forget them carrying that bed and wheeling it down the street. And I'm telling you, the hospital, Johnny on my leg in a cast. I still have the cast, by the way. I shellacked it. And right there, and cars are going by. It's April 6th, and it was cold, and it was dark. And they get me there, and they put this big stinking provolone cheese right in there. And they give me a beer and a beer. And they said, okay, the party's going. And I remember Eddie Johnson coming over and he said, okay, kid, let's go. And I had a couple, and I look up and I see on the writing across the, back then it was ESPN, the only thing. And it said, Phil Esposito kidnapped from Mass General. I said, Bob, come here, now look. He goes, holy, I better call Dr. Rowe right now. And Dr. Rowe says, don't carry him, because if he falls, he'll never walk again, let alone play hockey. I'll send an ambulance. Bobby said, nope. We took him here, we're taking him back. And Bobby calls me, he says, what a party, eh? Wapo, what a party. I said, Bobby, $3,800 for the new door and the new bed. He said, did you pay it? I said, yeah. He says, what a party.
We went to into the room, went around and started meeting everybody. And I went up to Taz, because we had an incident the year before. And I go up and I say, hey Taz, how are you? And I put my hand out and he pulls his hand back. Because the year before I had cut him. And pulls his hand back, he says, I owe you. And I said, yeah, you probably do. Right? So once a month, for the rest of for about 3 or 4 years, once a month in practice, Taz would cold cock me and look down at me. And I'd say, are we done yet? Nope.
So phone rings and it's the NHL. Hey, congratulate you on winning the Lady Byng Award. I said, oh, you're kidding, awesome, thank you. And you know, me and my buddies celebrated later, and then they went on to say, we'd like you to come to Montreal next weekend. They called me a week before to tell me. I'm like, really? I'm at Pebble Beach and we're staying here and we're going from here to Vegas for the Holmes-Cooney fight. It took me, Jerry Cheevers helped me get the tickets. It was at Caesar's Palace. I can't get to Montreal, I'm sorry, right? So I go home 2 weeks later to get my trophy. And my dad hands me this little plaque like this. And I'm thinking, that's it? That's the Lady Byng? So I have bigger trophies than Pee Wee. So I'm thinking, they give me this crappy little plaque because I didn't go. That was what I was thinking, right? So I took it home and somebody came over and wanted to see it. So I took it in and had it like a puck, you know, like you play table hockey, said NHL on it, and it falls out and starts bouncing on the hardwood. I'm like, this piece of crap, and I threw it in the garbage. I don't have it today. But it's not the end of the story. So the next year they asked me to be a presenter. And Mike Bossy won the Lady Byng. And the trophy was this high. I had to carry it out like this, so I knew, right? Thought I knew that they did that on purpose to me. So I don't know how many years later, the All-Star game was in Montreal and up there, because we used to have an old-timers game, an alumni game attached to it. I was up there playing, I was in having a beer with Rod Langway. I was telling him the story, right? Rod goes, 82, 82. He says, oh, I got one of those plaques. I go, what? He says, yeah, I got one, it's on my wall at home. He says, yeah, that was the last year the NHL gave those crappy little plaques. The next year they gave big trophies. I said, I know, I had to carry it out for Mike Bossy.